Hello everyone and welcome back to my Warhammer 40k guides. I am Brady and today I will be talking about units you should consider in every Chaos list. I made a video like this for the Imperium and now I've decided I will make similar videos for all of the different factions, including the Xenos races and all of the codexes that are released. So for now, let's talk about my favorite faction, and that's Chaos. There's one thing I'd like to mention beforehand, so you guys don't get the wrong impression. In these units you should consider video, these units aren't necessarily units you must have or try to force in your lists. These are just great options you can possibly use to make up for some weaknesses your list may have. I know in previous videos I said that these units were staples, or also known as auto-includes, but to be honest, I don't think there's a single unit in the game that is an auto-include anymore, except for maybe Dark Reapers. Need a screen? Sure, Guard Infantry are great, but you can also use Space Marine Scouts to almost the same effect. Need Psychic Defense? Use Greyfax or some Psychers from your main army like Librarians or Primaris Psychers. Again, these units I feel are optimal and should be considered, but not necessarily must-haves in your army. So with that statement out of the way, let's get into the main content of this video. Cultists. Cultists are the most optimal troop choice for almost any Chaos army. The way I think of them is that they are Chaos Guardsmen, only they don't like to take orders because people who follow Chaos don't like to be told what to do. They are cheap screening units and cheap objective holders. They also synergize with some of the stratagems that can make them really good, especially if you play them in one of the legions from the CSM book, because Tide of Traitors is an amazing stratagem for these guys. For 2 command points, you can pick up a blob of cultists, replace all the dead models to bring the unit back to full strength, and then place them within 6 inches of any board edge. This is great for flanking an opponent who left their backfield open, or coming in from a weaker side of their army. Combined with the Endless Cacophony stratagem, you can make this unit shoot twice, as long as you make them Slanesh. Also, I would only recommend doing that if you are within rapid fire range, otherwise I don't think that 2 CP is worth it. You can also use the Veterans of the Long War stratagem on them to give them a +1 to their wound rolls, meaning they will go from wounding Space Marines on 5s to 4s, which is a nice boost in damage, and that effect remains for the whole phase, so you can combine this with the Endless Cacophony stratagem for maximum damage output. But again, would probably only use these stratagems if I was in rapid fire range. And you can easily get these guys in rapid fire range by using the Alpha Legion stratagem that allows you to infiltrate 1 unit of infantry. I normally do this every game, and if I end up going first, I will infiltrate them 9 inches away from the enemy, and I will do all those stratagem combos and then just nuke a unit off the table. And when I say a unit, I usually mean infantry. They're not the best at killing tanks and stuff still. And if I go second, well then I just redeploy them as a screen right in front of my army, just a little bit farther out than where my deployment zone probably would have been. Either way, it's still very good. Low risk, high reward, because you only pay 1 command point, and if you get to go second, you can still choose to deploy them on your side of the board out of harm's way. But if you go first, you can go fully offensive with them and put them right on the front line of your opponent and just blast away 1 or 2 units, depending on what you're shooting at and how many guys are in that unit. In other legions like Death Guard, you can use these guys to build up your Poxwalkers by using the stratagem on your Poxwalkers called Cloud of Flies, so they can't be targeted unless they are the closest unit, and then you surround them with cultists, and then use the stratagem the Dead Walk Again, so that when the cultists die, you get new Poxwalkers in that unit. Every time a cultist dies, you get a new Poxwalker. This is a pretty sweet combo that actually made it to the top 8 of a major event. It was a really weird summoning list, but it did feature this combo. Overall, I think cultists are great in any Chaos army, and I believe they are now the most optimal troop choice since the nerf to Brimstones. Arman. Arman is amazing, and has actually been featured in a couple of the Chaos soup lists that have topped the recent ITC events. You get a lot for what you pay for him. For 131 points, you get a weapon skill and ballista skill at 2+, 4 attacks with a staff that has +2 strength, -1 AP, and 3 flat damage. He can cast and deny 3 spells, all with a +1. Mainly, you take him just for the spells, since he gets 12 to pick from since he can choose from 2 different disciplines. The amount of denies alone is great, and the fact that it's +1 to deny even at max range is pretty damn good. He's basically a mini Magnus for a fraction of the cost, but he can also hide behind other units unlike Magnus because of the character rule. If you bring him in a Thousand Suns detachment, he also gets +6 inch range on all of his spells, meaning he can smite and do other spells at 24 inch range. Also, he gets an 18 inch death hex, which is pretty damn good. You can also throw him on a disc of Zinch for an extra 35 points to make him cost 166, and most of the time I would say it's worth it to take because it changes your movement to 12 inches and gives you the fly keyword, which helps a lot to better position yourself for optimal spell usage. Overall, I think Arman is a great pickup for any Thousands army or Chaos Soup army. Havocs. Havocs are great anti-anything. You can kit them out for what you need. If you need more anti-tank, then equip them with las cannons. If you need more anti-infantry, then you can equip them with heavy bolters. Like the Cultists, Havocs can also use the combo with Veterans of the Long War to get a +1 to their wound rolls, and can also shoot twice with Endless Cacophony while still having the Veterans buff. This is a great unit for popping 2 lighter vehicles a turn, or possibly 1 big one with good rolls, or wiping out 1 to 2 units of infantry. In my current own personal list, I use a few units of these guys with a Chaos Lord for rerolls of 1, and I normally use the combo on these guys over the Cultists, mainly because I end up going second and deploying my Cultists defensively. But you have multiple targets for that combo, and options are great like I've said before. More options wins games. Versatility is great for your army. The one downside to this unit is their leadership is only 8, and they don't get to re-roll it because Chaos Space Marines do not have the they shall know no fear rule like normal Space Marines. So I wouldn't max out the squad. Instead I would bring 8 in the squad for some extra bodies while not suffering too badly from morale checks. Overall, I think this is a great DACA unit for Chaos, especially if you don't want to dive into the Forge World stuff. Speaking of Forge World stuff, we'll get into that in the next video. And that's going to cover everything for today's video. These units are great in almost every Chaos list, and again, I don't think you should force yourself to fit these units into your list if you don't need them. Although, I do think they are great pickups with the right builds. So with that said, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're already subscribed but would like to help support the channel even further, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. Come check it out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy wargaming!